TAGNBRAG Nation and Goose Chasers. We are back with the 75th and final episode of the 2024 calendar year.
Wow.
75 apps.
3/4 century.
Who would have thought we'd have made it this far? No one. No one, because we can't kill big bucks, and, well, we're just a bunch of corn pile hunters, really. But we are at the 75th episode. It's been a hell of a journey here so far in our lifetime, or the lifetime of this podcast.
It has. We've talked about some very good topics. Brought some stories of some pretty awesome hunts. Some successful, some not.
But that's why we started the podcast. Like, everybody thinks goose chase and we're out there slaying geese in the layout blinds in a cut cornfield, but that's not it. The goose chase is the goose chase of life. The goose chase of things.
Goals, passions,
Hunting trips,
careers.
certain bucks. I mean, back in the day when we were young lads just getting into the sport of hunting, oftentimes, well, the archery equipment was a little bit different about 30 years ago than it is today. So arrows could be bent and you could still shoot them. The rests were like these little metal things that just came off of the riser. Kind of just like a paper clip that held your arrow right there.
Yeah, you're talking back in the day.
And then they turned into the prongs that like just held the arrow up. It was like just little prongers that just held the arrow up. My point is that the equipment was there was a give and take, I should say, with the equipment.
Variables.
You lofted arrows, broadheads were different. Arrows were made out of aluminum. There was no lighted nocks. You pulled a 70-pound bull, and it pulled. You big kung, you think
And
kung.
it pulled that way.
And it did. It pulled that way. So when we grew up as young lads, when you connected with an arrow, there wasn't like a good chance that you connected in a good way. Just to put it lightly. So after the shot, normally it was a goose chase.
Shit could hit the fan.
Go find them, boys. Go find them. And that's how we've earned our keep and we've gotten our wings, I feel like, in the hunting side of things in general, like outside of the videos and the sponsorships and all that stuff. Like as a hunter, there's a different skill set after the shot to go find the deer and recover them. And when we drew blood in our family, it was an all-out effort to recover that animal, to finish what you started. That's the goose chase of life.
Yeah.
That's what we're on. So, with all that bullshit jargon aside of us, this is the 75th episode of Goose Chasing, folks. And, well,
If you're just tuning in for the first time, welcome.
welcome.
And
Thank you.
David just gave you a synopsis on what we've been talking about for the last year and 75 episodes.
So, yeah, I mean, it's something that I think we take pride in, because even in our journey in the hunting industry, in the hunting world, it's been nothing close to perfect. It's been nothing short of a roller coaster and a crazy adventure that has had some very, very good times. That's why we're still here. It's also had some very, very hard and trying times. And it's made us question, do we want to still be here? I mean, really, though. So,
Definitely have been reminded of that this season. I honestly don't think it matters how quote unquote good you get at bow hunting or just hunting in general. There's going to be ups and downs
there's going to be times that humble you.
if you hunt enough.
That that is where I think a lot of the hunting, a lot of hunting content, and a lot of, especially the hunting personalities and the TV shows that we grew up with, made it seem like there's not ups and downs. There's only ups.
Yeah, deer comes in, good, perfect shot, go find him.
He goes down on camera, you go find him.
Yeah,
Everybody's happy.
everybody's happy.
It only took 4 days. You passed up a couple 150s to get to the 165. Going home with the bacon. But I think it's what's drawn people in, because it is such a cool thing to experience that. But it also has given people a false perception of the realities of hunting, bare bones in general.
Yep.
It has.
Because there's so many variables in the sport, and you can perfect a lot of different things. You can always learn from your mistake, and something different will happen on the next hunt, because no two hunts, no two reactions of deer, no two anything are the same. There's just always something new you're going to learn. Always.
Yeah.
And then you think you're seasoned, you think you're perfected, you think you got the sport mastered, and then something you've never seen happens.
Humbles you, yeah. And you almost think you get to a point where we're at and not like putting ourselves in front or ahead of anybody, but we've been working at this as a career for 10 years now. And so you get to a point where we are at now, and kind of in your head, you almost think like, oh, all I need is the deer to walk into range with whatever weapon of choice that I have, and that's it.
It's a done deal.
It's supposed to happen. It's supposed to happen good. It's supposed to go good. It's supposed to end good, because, we're filming all this stuff. And that's just how it's supposed to be, but it's not actually the reality of hunting. And I think, yeah, that's what keeps us coming back. That's what keeps us going on the goose chase, because just when you think you got it figured out, just when you think you're like, oh, yeah, shot a couple of nice bucks in a row, made good shots, watched them go down.
It's going to happen from here on out.
The gut punch, double gut punch. Sometimes that shit happens. Well, we've had a great season.
No, yeah.
Honestly, an awesome year. Like, starting all the way back, shed season, turkey hunting, food plot chronicles, like, all that went about as good as it could ever go. I mean, turkey hunting, how many birds did we kill? 8, 9 birds between the group.
Most we have as turkey hunters.
The food plot chronicles, like the growing season and all the work that you did up there on the plots specifically, couldn't have gone better.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Well, yeah, I think that it really couldn't have gone much better.
Yeah, well, was a lot of work, but I mean, certainly there's failures with that. You can perfect and think you know how to grow everything, and then Mother Nature says something different. I mean, we planted a couple cornfields this year that completely failed and had to replant them, and we did salvage them.
True. Yeah.
But it wasn't like, just plant the seed and everything came up perfect. Like, it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get it like that. So.
Well, and then you have a year like we've had at camp where we've got 2 full bean fields, beautiful bean fields, and for whatever reason, the deer didn't completely destroy them before the month of November this year. And then the first week of December, we get hammered with 4 feet of snow. Those are completely glacier covered and under the snow. And now that the snow's melting, like it's literally, you've got just these full bean fields that are just wilted over.
And there's just bean pods are like literally just sitting in water now at the bottom of the field. And I don't even think that, like, I don't know what's going to happen with them. I don't think the deer are going to eat them. They're probably rotting. And so there's all that summer work. I mean, fencing the beans and doing all this stuff to keep the deer off them so that you have your late November, December food that's so attractive. And it's just it's not the deer that take it away.
It's Mother Nature.
Mother Nature literally takes the whole field away.
Yeah, because we never even got to hunt on either one of those fields legitimately with like that where you are sitting on the field and all of a sudden there's 10, 15 deer, 20 deer in front of you, and you're just like, man, all this hard work throughout the summertime, you're just like, this is
You know,
why. This
yeah.
is why.
No,
we
that's-
didn't have one of those hunts this year.
No.
Not one. Not on beans.
No.
Maybe on some corn and stuff, but not
It
on
is
the
really
beans.
crazy because then going into this year, it makes you like rethink what you want to plant
Right.
because you're like, man, I don't want that to happen again. But then next year you could have a season where the beans would have been great.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
you might not put them in there because you're like, man, I need food that's not going to either get ruined by snow like that or it's going to stay above the ground like standing corn, or they're still digging at turnips and stuff, and it doesn't matter how much snow dumps on those,
They
they're
seem
fine.
Yeah, right.
But
It's it's a weird.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time and money on those bean fields, and there's really nothing to show for. I mean, they attracted some deer early in the year, and they looked good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean,
I was actually shocked when it starts snowing that hard, and the beans are kind of still standing up through the snow. You think, oh, maybe they'll just be standing still, like under that like glacier of snow.
yeah.
But it all melted, and there just was so much weight of snow on these things that they must have just gotten crushed.
I think honestly, it's the melting process that destroys them.
Yeah,
Because
they're getting wet.
yeah, like the first snow that came in was super light and just like
Powdery.
fluffy snow, so it probably just. But when it melts, the snow's getting heavier. It freezes again, the ice, and then all that just kind of just lowers itself to the ground as it's melting and brings the old beaners with it. It's a crying shame.
It is grand thing.
But like you just, I mean, and
Everything went good with that, though, like you said, and then the first part of the season was awesome.
oh my god, it was amazing. Like the first part of, well, first of all, the turkey season was amazing. Like I said, we 8-9 birds between the group of us. We've never done that before. But then that ultimately just carried into the deer season because Uncle Jay and I had 3 days in Tennessee for the velvet hunt that were unbelievable. I mean, we saw a shooter every day. We were hunting mornings and evenings, which we don't normally do that time of year, and having success with it. He was drawn once or twice, couldn't get a shot off, and just for one reason or another, like we didn't get it done during that time, but we were right in the middle of the game for 3 different days during that hunt. Then we literally leave for North Dakota like 2 days later, and you had already gone out there, put some feed out, put some cameras out, so we already kind of had an idea of what was going on. Opening day, you shoot probably the number one target buck that we had out there.
Yeah.
And McGuire, perfect shot, goes down on camera. The footage is insane, and we were just getting started with our North Dakota trip, and it was like, really, we're just getting started with the season. And we're on cloud 9.
Yeah.
It was the We Will Not Be Denied tour, and we were kicking that thing off.
Yeah, it was
hard.
perfect. And then we were able to hunt together for the rest of the week.
Right.
5 days later, you shoot a giant 8 that we watched for a couple years.
Yeah. And
we
it
were-
was kind of the same scenario that he got me on last year. It was getting down to
Same
last
spot,
light.
same tree.
Yeah, same tree. Just you were with me, and because of your success the first day, you're with me. You get footage of that deer coming from a couple 100 yards away, and he cut the distance in minutes when I thought there was literally no chance. And unfortunately, we didn't get that shot on film, but the whole experience was captured about as good as it could be. And we're 4 days into a 8-day North Dakota trip, and we've got our two biggest North Dakota bucks on the ground, and now we're like, well, what do we do? So we kind of it was awesome though. That last part of the week, we geared up and we kind of re-chummed some spots and got Kane out there and shit, almost had him a shot at a couple different bucks.
Yeah, well, that was awesome to end the trip that way. Yeah,
But it
started off with a bang, that's for sure.
Yeah, started off with a bang. I mean, we go from that to back home. Had a couple good hunts at home in Ohio that coulda, shoulda, woulda been, even with Dad.
Yeah,
and that first week of the season, a really nice deer. And then go up to New York. We had a couple solid hunts up there throughout October. And we go to Kansas.
Yeah, we passed up some nice bucks in New York.
Oh yeah, really nice deer out in New York actually in the month of October.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we went to Kansas late October. It was a little bit of a more humbling, tougher trip, but it was touching 90 degrees almost every day we were out there, and we were still seeing a lot of deer on camera, and we still felt like we were on it every time we were going out hunting. But it was that was just a tough hunt. It was.
Oh my gosh, it was brutal. You're carrying. I mean, there's no short walk to any of the spots in Kansas. You're walking a long way. You're carrying a lot of gear in there, and you're doing it all in like a t-shirt so you don't sweat your ass off, but you're sweating your ass off regardless because it's 90 degrees.
Yeah.
In mid to end of October.
Yeah.
And we come back here. You tag our number one target buck in New York. Awesome way to capitalize on just that buck and where like him being on the property because he's not a local deer.
No.
Just moves in for the rut. And we were getting a week or so, 2 weeks maybe worth of photos of him, and they kept getting, he clearly had found a place that he wanted to hang out for a little while, probably based on the doe, and capitalized on it.
Yep.
It's friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
And that led right into a rut week that I passed the deer on the first night, which was kind of a bonus hunt. The next morning I went in and I shot the number one deer now on the hit list that we were going in after, and in a couple hours that morning. And then Uncle Jay got one a couple days after that. Dad was at full draw a couple days after that. Like, New York was insane.
Yeah, great.
Throughout the month of November anyway.
Yeah. We started the first 11 months of the year have been incredible. And then we flipped to December.
And something happened.
Well, just like literally I think on November 30th, the storms started. And
in more ways than one.
By December 1st, by the morning of December 1st, we had feet of snow and with no stopping in sight.
We were spending more time working on clearing snow in and around the house, the driveway, the vehicles, the roof, in order to preserve and save the house, essentially, than we were actually hunting.
Yeah, and
that was the only option.
Yeah, and then a day or two into it, we were driving the tractor into a few of our blinds just so that we could walk in to possibly hunt. And
12 hours later, those tracks were completely covered.
12 hours later, those tracks you couldn't even see that we drove in.
Yeah.
And after doing that 2 times, and every time they were covered up, then it got to the point where the snow got so deep, the tractors weren't even working anymore.
Well, and now, like where we sit right now, we don't want to give too much away because all this is just going out on the YouTube channel. But between New York, Kansas, and Tennessee, in December, we've missed, as a group collectively, we've missed 5 bucks. Jamie killed the one in Tennessee in like December 2nd. But other than that, we've missed 5 bucks, and good ones. And like when you look at the season for us as a whole, you're like, the first 11 months, it was a dream season. Yeah. It was our best season yet. And now on the last day of 2024, we're sitting here scratching our heads going like, do we still know how to do this?
Know what we're doing. It is insane. But just going back to it, the sport humbles you. Like,
but this is where like I am proud of us. All of this is going to be seen.
Yeah.
All this is going to be seen. We don't hide from any of it. We don't hide from the shortcomings or the mistakes or the situations that we've been dealt or that we've put ourselves in. We're not hiding from any of that. So with us, like, you're going to see the full reality of our season or our seasons. It's really a never-ending story until we decide to not film it anymore, I guess.
Yeah.
But as hard as it is to put some of this out there, for us, this is the reality of hunting. Well, for everybody as a hunter, this is the reality of hunting. But for us, the roller coaster or the goose chase is kind of why we continue to do it.
Yeah, and once you get low or once you get humbled by a certain hunt, a certain deer, like it kind of re-energizes your drive to go obviously get it done again. But maybe it's like, oh man, I gotta start shooting my bow again, or I gotta retool, I gotta refocus, I gotta get better at something again. It makes you like not get complacent with yourself as a hunter.
Right. Where am I
going? You might not have been slacking, like, because a few of our I don't think we were. Just there's a lot of variables that you don't think about that happen with each and every hunt, and some of them are out of your control, and that's just that's why you'll never master the sport, because there's always variables that are out of your control.
That's why the naysayers on like YouTube and social media and stuff, they're just barking from afar. But they either don't hunt at all or don't have enough experience to experience the actual roller coaster that this thing that we love, that hunting that we love so much, can do to you. Because it literally, like, the big buck heartbreak is real. And it's real. Fucking hurts. Yeah. It's like, it hurts. But it's like, it's the sport of the ultimate highs and the ultimate lows. And you've got to have the mental capacity to ride that wave. But like you said, the situations that we've been in December that haven't gone our way, those refuel you. They want you to set a stand better. They want you to, perfect that spot and make sure that you don't just go set a stand, but you set it in the tree.
Yep. You
put it in the tree and facing the way and camoed in, and all that preparation is perfect. You're shooting your bow and you're dialing that in, and everything in your whole hunting setup with your broadhead, your lighted nock, your arrow, all that stuff is perfected, and you're fully confident that, okay, I can shoot this arrow good in practice outside of the mother nature variables and the animal variables. Like, I'm locked in. The gun that you shoot, I mean, we were humbled with that. Like,
everyone thinks gun hunting is easy and it's like a sure thing.
It needs just as much preparation as anything else, and not only the preparation prior to the hunt, but shooting your shotgun, shooting your rifle, consistently to know your equipment, and not only to just re-sight it in, but every gun feels different. Every gun has a different recoil. Every gun has a different. You're gonna react different when you pull that trigger.
Yeah.
You've got to know that to the fullest when you go in to that hunt every time.
Yeah.
I mean, you like drop a gun or bump a gun going in or out of the woods, or getting in and out of your truck, or anywhere throughout the travels, like, check it, shoot it.
Yeah.
Make sure that it's back on.
Yeah, and it's hard to do because a lot of people, and this happens to even us, like, you don't always have like a spot to go shoot.
Right.
Like,
or
time. You can't just walk out your backyard, and not everybody can just walk out their backyard and fire a gun off.
Right.
It's like a process to go shoot a gun, but sometimes you got to make that extra effort if you want to be sure of everything. Keep your confidence, and just make sure you're locked in with your equipment, and that's probably especially the case with muzzleloaders.
Oh, absolutely.
Because muzzleloaders are finicky guns.
Finicky.
And when you throw moisture into the equation, they're really finicky.
Yeah. Yeah. So, if anything from any of our content, like, that we want people to grasp, it's just like, we're hunters. We aren't perfect. And a lot of the reason why we don't shy away from putting out the good, the bad, and the ugly, and some of the stuff that we're not necessarily proud of, but we don't do this stuff on purpose. No. We don't just screw this up on purpose. We're human. It's whether it was a little bit of a lack of preparation, whether it was getting caught up in the moment and getting buck fever and not being able to compose yourself, whether it was, I don't know, not checking equipment, whatever the case may be, or whether it was just the variables of Mother Nature and the animals that aren't a foam target or aren't a block target or a paper target that's sitting 60, 80, 100 yards from you that you can just pull the trigger on and they're not going to move and there's not much wind and whatever, you're not sitting in a rainstorm or, a foot of snow or anything. Like, it, outside of any of that, like, we show this because we know we're not the only persons that it happens to, and these are the realities. And if you can eliminate maybe one of the mistakes that we made or one of the variables that we were in that caused us to not have the result that we wanted, if you can eliminate that by watching some of our content, that's all the better.
Yeah, it is. I mean, when I see something of that nature on different content, I enjoy it because I will be like, oh man, I didn't think of that, or like.
Well, but also you're able to look at those hunters and be like, oh,
they're real.
They're like me.
Yeah, shit happens.
And they're not afraid to show it either.
Yeah, because I think that's probably the biggest thing of why you don't see it more on TV or whatever, on YouTube or anything, is just people are afraid of getting bashed. And I honestly don't blame them, because they will get bashed because there's idiots out there that have nothing better to do but let me just figure out something wrong with this video and comment on it. And
there's also a certain pride factor. Like, we're all proud hunters. We all want the buck,
be the best.
We all want the buck on the wall. We all want to be grinning in that Instagram photo and behind a big one. And like, I even back to like the early days of us hunting, I remember like we would always go to an annual steak roast, and it was all a bunch of Italian hunters. And it would always happen in like February or March. You'd grill your own steaks out on an open fire. Like, they would just they would literally buy boxes of these steaks, and you pick out your own steak, you unwrap it, you season it, and everyone just took turns on an open fire, grill grate.
You got your hunting pocket knife, and you're just stabbing that
thing.
It.
But even there, every year, you wanted to be bringing a photo of the deer that you shot. Because you wanted to tell the story. Yeah. You wanted to talk about it.
But honestly, the cool thing was, I feel like even if you didn't have the photo, you wanted to tell your story of the year.
Yeah.
Even if it was misses or mishaps.
Right.
You were in the game, and you wanted people to know like what happened.
Right. Right. No, you did. It's kind of
cool because that's, I don't know, you're face to face with your audience at that point. You know your audience, and you're not afraid of being like judged at that point.
Right.
If anything, everyone's like encouraging, and they'll fire you back up like, oh man, that happened to me too. Like, but on YouTube and stuff, that doesn't happen because there's no face and people want to just bash.
Right. Well, and there wasn't many angry people that were going to like the steak roast back in the day.
This is true.
It was just, that was a good time.
Also, like, I've learned this too. There's nobody that's doing more than you. This is like outside of hunting also, but nobody that's doing more than you in life is going to bash you.
That's very true.
They're not.
No, why would they? At least they feel like they're doing, like, if they're putting their work into something, really. Like, if you're putting your honest, hard work and your blood, sweat, and tears into something, no matter what it is, yeah, you're not going to go out and be like, that guy sucks because he shot a foot over that buck's back.
Yeah.
At 18 yards and whatever. Like, you're not going to, why would you shoot that tiny 8-point?
Yeah.
You're a bitch.
The shot was way high.
Commenting on a video that we're holding the deer, like the deer's dead in.
Yeah.
But no,
you're
right.
Even if you're not holding the deer in the video, like, number one, if the shot was high, yeah.
I just showed you that.
We know.
We just showed you that.
And it's just not going to be, you do everything you can to make every shot, I guess, perfect. But it literally won't, it can't be. If you hunt enough, yeah, if you only shoot 4 more deer for the rest of your life. There's a chance all 4 shots might be perfect. They might.
Sure.
But if you do it every year and a lot, it's just not going to happen. There's too many variables that are out of your control. And it's also hard to see those things sometimes from a video. You know? Like the thing that people don't take into account in every situation like the deer is the emotional side of what's going on
inside
right as a hunter, because sitting in your driveway or in your backyard shooting at a foam target, that emotion is not there,
right? 100%.
And that emotion is part of what makes hunting addicting. That's the emotion you're going for, and that's something that, number one, you can't simulate it. I know people try to do it, and I love it. Like Cam Haynes will put his target on this bed of his truck and whatever like that. Like, I get it, and it's awesome, but you still aren't simulating.
No. Not
the moment.
No.
You can't simulate a moment when you're freezing cold. You've been stuck in the same position for like 5.5 minutes, and like a big buck is easing his way in. It's dead quiet out and you can't move a muscle, and you're like mid-draw or maybe full draw, and as he's walking into your shooting lane, but he kind of just glides his head up the tree and he's staring at you. You can't simulate the feeling going on in your body.
No, you can't simulate pulling your bow back and getting your anchor point and putting that pin on an animal that is breathing with fur. You can't simulate that.
No.
The only way you simulate that is if you actually do it, in the stand. But when you pull your bow back and you get your anchor point and you settle that pin, or for the lack of a better term, settle the pin on an animal that is living, I don't care if it's a little doe, a 4-point, a button buck, a 150, that your insides are doing something completely different, because you are in that moment of truth. You are about to take a life, or you're going to try to.
Yeah.
You can't simulate that. That's why experience is the only thing. And putting yourself in that position, like, it's one thing to just kill a deer with a bow. Just a deer. Shoot a deer successfully, a good shot with a bow. Okay, now let's graduate. Now let's do that a couple times. I don't care if it's a doe, a button buck, a forker, it doesn't matter. Do that a couple times successfully. Yep. Okay, now we want to shoot a buck with a bow. Okay, now that's the goal. Now do that. And every time that scenario comes into your reality, you're going to feel that it's going to heighten, because now you've heightened the goals.
Yeah.
You've heightened the goals. You've heightened the emotion. You've heightened the energy. You've heightened the hard work. Okay, now you got a buck. Now let's get a bigger one. Let's get a basket 8, right at the ears, 2.5-year-old 8-point. Okay, now we're going for that. And you just keep going up that ladder. But the higher that you raise the bar and raise the standards, it amplifies everything inside, because that moment is more rare.
Yeah. Well, and it's also like, I thought about it with the last, I know we haven't showed it yet, but
No, we showed it.
Miss. Or yeah.
No, it's going to be shown after the end.
My last miss here in Kansas, because sometimes it does have to do with the deer, but most of it for me is just the situation. Because there has been times in hunts where a big buck comes in, and whatever the scenario is, like, I'm calm. Like, I figured out how to remain calm. And it's just
almost because you got him.
Well, it totally depends on, like, the situation. Maybe you can't see him walking in. Like, he's walking up a tree line. You know he's coming, but, like, whatever it is, there's certain scenarios that, like, change your emotion in the woods. But there's hunts that, like, I can hunts from previously this year, last year, maybe I was calm with a big buck. But there's going to be hunts in the future where I'm hunting a doe. And the moment of truth is about to happen, and my heart is pounding. It's like completely. It's completely situational, based off of the environment you're in, I think, and I try to teach myself to remain calm in these situations, but sometimes I guess the point is that emotion is it's not possible to control it.
It's uncontrollable.
And that happened to me in this past one. I don't think that's why. It's not why I messed up or anything like that, but I felt it, and I was like, damn, that was intense. But like I said, there's just a combination of a bunch of things. Like, there could be the buck's coming in, and there's two doe under your stand staring at you. He doesn't know you're here, but they do. That moment just got super intense.
Way more. Twice as intense as it was. Maybe 3 times.
It's the pins and needles type thing where, like, you think it may happen here, but you have to make every move right for him not to see you or whatever. And I just think that's the type of scenario that you can't capture on film. Like, you can't capture when that's happening inside of you.
Right.
Because there's times where, like, buck's feeding out in the food plot. Like, maybe you're in a blind and like, the wind's perfect. The deer have no idea you're there. Like, everything's calm. He's just feeding closer to you. You're going to get a shot. And maybe you can keep yourself calm in that scenario. Or maybe you're hunting hardwoods and the buck is chasing a doe like crazy. You just hear him come up over a hill. Boom, all of a sudden they're on top of you before you can even get emotional. Like, you can't even, your heart can't beat because you're trying to figure out what's going on still. All of a sudden your bow's back, he's in an opening, and the arrow is sent, and then you come unglued.
Right, and then you come unglued.
Like, that's how hunts happen, and you can't ever capture the emotional state of what's going on in you. People are just looking at the deer, and then they look at the arrow flight or the gun shot, and they're just like, what the hell did you do?
Yeah, why'd you do that?
But we can have second angles. We can have all these things we want. That's something, that emotion, what's going on in your brain and your mind, they can't feel it.
Well, they can't, but if they've had experience in those scenarios before,
they should know.
And they've known, like, I watch hunting content a lot, and like there's certain hunts that literally I'll be on the couch and I'm thumping.
Yeah.
Because I know what they're feeling in that moment.
Yeah.
And that's probably another thing too. Like, if you've done this enough, or if you've put yourself in enough scenarios, if you've hunted enough, you can get into our content, win, lose, or draw, or anybody's content. And all of a sudden, like, if they documented it well enough, like, you can feel it.
Yeah,
you can feel what they're going through. You, at least partially.
Yeah.
And you can get in that moment kind of because you've been in a similar one.
Right.
So it's like, there's so many, I don't know.
I guess going back to it, my whole point was, it's so easy to, like, judge someone's shot or their, like, whatever they did during the hunt, but it's like you're blacking out in that moment sometimes.
There's a lot of times where you do.
Yeah, and you have trust that you're doing everything you can to just not let, like, the deer know you're there, or, like, just to get the shot off, right, or however that needs to be.
And sometimes getting to the shot opportunity or getting to full draw is like, it almost surprises you because you're like, I mean,
how'd I get here?
Like, and that carries a whole different emotion into it, because you're like, how did I get here, and what do I do now?
It's just an inexplainable feeling. I mean, we get it. This is funny, but, like, if the moment is right, I'll get this feeling when we're woodchuck hunting.
Oh yeah.
Like, you're waiting, you have one target and he's eating all your damn beans. And you know where the hole is in the field, and you're just waiting there 40 yards away. You haven't, like, seen him in, like, a half hour, and all of a sudden he just pops up, and you got, like, 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Because he might see movement, or he's, boom, right back down the hole. And you, like, guns up, and you're just freaking unglued in your body. And it's a freaking woodchuck. But the moment
and all
happens
he's
and
doing
you're-
is eating your beans that you're trying to grow for the deer so that you could have that moment again.
but you're hunting.
Yeah.
And then the hunter, like that emotion, that like the beaver fever, it comes out. Like that's when you're
for sure.
the Chuck fever.
All right, so before we end this, we got to talk about our favorite goose chases or the favorite moments of the season. Like, give me one
Of this season.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, let's do a favorite and then let's do a heartbreak.
man.
Honestly, one of my favorite, like, and this is kind of going back to like the first part of the year. I'll definitely touch on gun season, or I mean, deer season also. But the turkey hunt in Tennessee for me was the ultimate goose chase, because it started with you there opening day, and it was May something when I finally killed that thing, and I know it was the same bird.
Yep.
Played cat and mouse with that thing multiple days, had other hunters blast 4 or 5 turkeys that I heard right on neighboring properties, like close, that I was calling in, or we were calling in together, or they came, we did call them in, they just got hung up and then they went back. And finally I was able to get that joker with a Reaper fan. And dude, nice. I mean, I pulled that thing out of the landowner's front yard. I mean, it's not like a residential area.
No.
Like he lives in the country, but essentially he's got like a quarter-mile long driveway, super long.
Yeah.
And I would literally be in the little man-made blind that I had, calling. I would fire that thing up, and he would go silent, and I would like peek my head out, and sure enough, he would have like 4 hens a couple hundred yards away, past the house, in front of the house, in the front yard, just like, and he wasn't at that point, the hunt was over, you know. And the one we were talking about it the one day, and you're like, dude, you bring the Reaper fan, whatever. And so what I did was I set up the hen decoy, like, dude, probably 20 yards from my truck, where I parked my truck under the little lean-to of this guy's barn. And I set up the hen decoy so that when he came out down the driveway, he could see that there was another turkey back there. And then, so, you know, I was calling, I had him fired up, and I knew what was going to happen. He went silent, whatever. And dude, it was so crazy. Literally timing. Like, I peeked my head out, and this man made blind is just up against the fence, you know, in this little hedgerow up against a fence. Like, I'm not in a blind. No. Like, I just built up bushes around it. So I would like hop the little bushes that guarded me in the front, and I would just like peek outside the hedgerow and just be able to see all the way down, you know, the driveway. And it was super thick down the driveway towards the road. So it was perfect timing. Like, I literally peeked my head out. He comes strutting out probably 250 yards away. And so I like hit the call again, and he gobbled, and I think he was alone, but I know at that point he saw that hen decoy. And so for a while he was just kind of strutting up there. He didn't know what to do. And then he just strutted his way, and he made his way right to that hen decoy. Dude, the hen decoy was 60 or 80 yards from me.
Yeah.
And so then I had the Jake decoy right out in front of me in the blind. Well, when he got close to the hen decoy, I took the Reaper fan, and I just like reached around, you know, the hedgerow and just flashed it to him. And I could tell his demeanor completely changed. He blew down, and all of a sudden, like, he was coming. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know what to do. So I just backed up, and like literally on my all fours on the ground on my stomach, that thing came. And you could see it in the second angles. I only filmed it from second angles because that's what the GoPros. Dude, he freaking came, and right when he got right in front of where my blind was, which now I'm laying on the ground out in front of the blind, he goes into full strut 10 feet from me. And I know he could see me, but the decoy was right out there. Yeah. So he literally blew up, kind of looked at me for a second, and went straight to the decoy. And I ended up popping up and and shooting them literally right there. But like for me, that was a property that none of us knew about. I found that property on my own, got permission, hunted it for a year for deer season, hunted it for whatever, 3 weeks of the turkey season. Just wanted to shoot something on this piece of property. It was only like a 30-acre piece of property, but I wanted to shoot something so bad just because it was just like, it was kind of a blank sheet of paper project for me. Yeah. And got it done there. And like, I don't know, that was so awesome for me, at least in the early part of the year. And to be able to fill a Tennessee tag and the way that the hunt went down so unconventionally, it was badass.
Yeah. Oh, that was insane.
Yeah, it was just, you won't be able to mimic that hunt again and how it happened and the setup of how everything was or whatever. It just, you won't be able to do it.
And not to mention, we normally don't really care because a turkey's a turkey, but that thing had like gargantuan spurs.
Oh my God.
They were massive.
Yeah, he was elusive for a reason.
Yeah.
But and yeah, just being able to get him, I don't know. It was so cool. I packed him up. I breasted him out in the parking lot of a Red Lobster at like 8:30 in the morning, and I threw him in the cooler. And I drove to Atlanta. I was meeting our buddy Chris to go to the Indians Braves game literally that night. And Kelly was out of town. I had to hunt that morning, whatever. It was already on the way to Atlanta because it was about an hour south of me in Nashville. And it was just that whole scenario, dude. I was dead tired that night, because I got up at like 3 in the morning to get down to the property. And after all that, and yeah, it was just the excitement and the adrenaline carried me to Atlanta and through the game, and the Indians won in the last inning, so that was even better. But that was just, awesome. It was just, that was a goose chase right there.
That's hilarious.
So,
man, I'm trying to think of,
they're all good.
Yeah,
so it's hard to pick. I
can't pick one, but either of the 2 bucks I shot this year are, they're awesome for me. I mean, Freddie was in New York was awesome just because we kind of like, we always talk about don't follow the camera activity, like try to plan for his next move. Like, right. Where is he going to be next? You know, not like, oh, he's been hitting scrapes on this area because he's on this trail camera. Like, I got to go into that spot. It's like, most of the time when they're doing that, they're making a round because they're looking for a doe, which he was, and we just played it perfectly. It was like try to get out in front of him and see where he's going to show up next, and he did. Exactly.
Well, yeah, because we got a trail camera that deer at like 11
in the morning.
11 in the morning. Meanwhile,
he was probably I don't know what 400 yards.
Oh, I would say 600
yards maybe from where I ended up shooting them, but that's where we got the picture of them. And
then the 2 afternoons prior to that, he was in a different plot, another 300 yards away.
Yeah, at least
right at daylight. So it was like,
well, like two out of those last 3 nights, he was going into that clover plot.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. But they were both, one of them might have been like a little after sunset, but the one before was like an hour.
Right.
It was well into daylight, and we just figured there were does in that food plot, and he was probably just coming out bumping them. Like, he wasn't on a doe, he was just looking for one. So yeah, it was a lot of
it was a chess match, no doubt.
Yeah, and it was a big just chance of where is he going to be next type thing, and it worked out. It worked out perfectly. But then the same thing with being able to shoot McGuire. I mean, obviously that whole week was insane because we shot 2 bucks that we had been after for several years, both of us. But being able to do it, well, we both did it in the same tree that we were hunting the same deer
the year before,
the year prior. But it was the year prior, just being able to see that deer once the crops are off and there's like no cover, there's no standing corn, kind of being able to watch him in October several different times get up out of his bed, where it's like, man, this deer's got himself just tucked away in the middle of just a cut bean field that nobody can get near him.
But the thing was, like, it wasn't like he was in, like, thick, gnarly cover.
No,
like,
that's
he
the
just
point.
found both of them,
Yeah, he
Delonte and McGuire.
Found the perfect spot to be in where he knew nobody could touch him there.
Nobody was going to get to him without him escaping.
No.
Yeah.
Without seeing him. Yeah. So just, yeah, kind of hunting that deer, that whole process, him escaping a pretty long and pressured gun season out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then seeing that he was alive still the next year, next summer. And, I mean, we didn't get a picture of that deer from the time we left in 2023 till we showed up in
20. But he was the first deer we got a picture of.
Deer we got a picture of this year, which was just crazy. So, yeah, I don't know. They're both.
It's tough to
unreal.
beat. It was that week in North Dakota was just so awesome because you put yourself on a chessboard that's just, at least it feels like it's so much bigger than anything else that we hunt. And when you stretch yourself out that far, to be able to think about, like, putting yourself in that circle at the right time in bow range of that animal in such a wide open and vast country is pretty friggin' awesome.
Yeah. And you just learn after, like, a December like we had that, it's never, like, I'm very grateful that those couple hunts just worked out the way they worked out because it's not that easy, and it doesn't always work out like that.
No, and I mean, you go back to, like, for me last year on the Delonte hunt where, I didn't take a shot that I probably should have or arguably could have.
Yeah.
And because the light was fading and I thought he was going to come a little bit closer. And then to this year where it was pretty much the same scenario, but the deer, it wasn't like perfect in our world from a production standpoint. He wasn't on camera, whatever. But for me, he's broadside at 26 yards. And I'm so glad that I let that thing rip.
Yeah.
Because, it's just such a different season. After that, who knows what that deer does? Can we get out of that tree, at that point, undetected? If we do get detected, do we ever even see him again? What does that do for the course of that week, for the course of our season and everything? And so, you get to it definitely makes, times like this in December where, you're experiencing the lows, I guess a little bit easier. But ultimately, like, we've got one more month of the season left in Ohio, and I don't know that I've been any more motivated to, like, literally get it done again because, it was an amazing second trip to Kansas, just the opportunity to be there. But for me, like, I left there very mentally drained, very mentally, like, just so many question marks in our head because even outside of, like, the deer hunting portion of it, there was a lot of things going on. And Dean hit a deer in the back straps that we did everything that we could to rule out or rule in what had happened on that trip, or on that specific scenario, but ultimately, like, in our nature and in my, like, soul, like, I wanted more from, I wanted to seek more. I wanted to, like, comb more. I wanted to look more for that deer. And the deer's alive. Like, he's going to be fine, whatever. But it's just like the thought of all that. And then, it just, for me, I didn't really have, like, you had the opportunity at a couple different, pretty solid bucks. Whereas my trip was a little different. Like, I just wasn't seeing the deer that we were going to Kansas for. And it wasn't for a lack of trying. I just didn't put myself in the right area, the right spots. So, I left there. And I think, like, coming back here, it was good that Christmas and then New Year's and kind of have taken a break from hunting for a week or so. And I feel now I'm like, I'm ready. I'm ready to get back after it, and I'm ready to push for the rest of the season. But you got to kind of know when to give and take there too, because you could burn yourself out pretty quick to where it's like you almost get like resentful of the hunt or resentful
Especially
of the deer or the
especially if you're hunting like the same spots, which happens a lot this time of year. 'Cause
Right.
you just have, food plots or whatever set up, and the deer are concentrated, and it's not so much just like, oh, get in the tree in the hardwoods, and
right.
that's not how you hunt late season. So there's a lot that can be draining. Bucks dropping horns is also another one.
I mean, yeah, New York with the harsh weather, we've probably got 80 to 90% of the bucks that we've seen or we are seeing on camera right now in New York have been shed for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
It's like a light switch like I've never even seen before.
And then, on top of that, one of the bucks we are hunting here in Ohio and had a couple encounters with earlier in the season and really had high confidence that we would be able to have an opportunity at him in January, just showed up 2 nights ago with half of a side.
Yeah.
So just stuff like that's a kick in the nuts. Now you got to retool and
gotta go find
another one.
For us, we've got to go like legit find another one to chase at this time of the season, and that poses a whole nother challenge too. So yeah, it's just crazy, but very grateful for the season that we've had, the opportunities that we've had, the successes that we had, and the failures, because the failures change you, and hopefully they change you in a good way, make you better, make you more detailed, make you prepare better, harder, and all that stuff. But regardless, win, lose, or draw, I'm just proud of the way that we've been able to document all this. We could tell you the story. We're going to tell you the story no matter what, exactly how it happened. And that's what I'm most proud of. I'm extremely grateful for everybody that listens, watches, and everybody that's, allowed this dream to come true for us. So to all of you guys, thank you.
Thank you guys. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And hopefully you guys all kick off the new year in a damn good way.
Hell yeah.
Create goals, set them, and don't do the old 2-week.
Take action and be consistent.
And stay with it all year.
Take action and be consistent. And just little things. And just see, at the end of the year, check yourself again and see where you're at. See what's happened.
Set goals that aren't overwhelming.
Right.
Like, I know it's good to have lofty goals, and maybe you still set those goals, but, set smaller ones that you can actually, achieving is realistic. And maybe it's not, it's sooner than later you can achieve them. But make, benchmarks so that you can achieve them, you can feel good, and then the next part of the goal feels more attainable.
Yeah, you can do your goals in, steps.
Gotta be.
Stairs. Walk your way up. And enjoy the journey along the way. It's not always easy. It's not always glamorous. It's not always perfect. But I can promise you the good Lord is putting you in these positions to see how you're going to handle them, how you're going to react, how you're going to come out of them, how you're going to celebrate them. And that is ultimately going to be the result of your growth and your success, I guess, in the long run. Whatever you coin that success to be. So just enjoy the whole damn thing. It's very difficult sometimes, especially when you're in those low periods, but those low periods are happening for a reason. Dean and I didn't shoot a buck in 2023. Neither of us shot a buck in 2023, and we are doing this for a living. So think about still. That's still. And we've had a fantastic year this year. So just think about it that way. You could be after a common goal and you are not achieving it. Not only are you not achieving it, you're not even close maybe. But the things that are happening are paving the way for when it does come and when your time is there, that it's going to be far more enjoyable. It's going to feel far better, and more bigger things are going to come from it than just, doing a little bit of work and getting handed something.
It's these times that you're you really look back on and you appreciate, because I don't know that anyone ever gets to a point where they're like, oh, I made it, I'm done. But when you get to a point where you have some success, you're gonna look back and you're gonna miss a little bit of the grind that you went through, or like if you're starting a friggin' business out of your garage or your parents' basement, you're gonna be like, man, I miss the times I was putting these packages together of whatever I'm selling and
Yep.
whatever it is. You look back at the little grinds that seemed like they sucked
At the time.
majorly at the time, but it's all about the journey. It's all about the chase.
Goose Chasers.
That's the chase.
Happy New Year, everybody. We appreciate you all listening, tuning in. As always, go subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got some amazing content coming at the start of the new year, and your boys are going to be grinding for another month or so, trying to shoot an Ohio buck or 2 or 3 maybe. Who knows?
You never know.
But we will be back here soon after the first of the year, and we appreciate you all. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. And we'll see you right back here on the next episode of Goose Chasing.
Love y'all.